Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake, myself, BBD, and we are talking some ball today as we are almost a week recovered from the deadline. You can hear maybe from my voice, I am not recovered from this weekend's floorball tournament, JM Warehouse. It was electric, but you'll have to wait till October to see that. But I'll be enjoying it with you because I think Chris Rose and Pavel Barber on the call didn't get to hear them, but everyone who did said they were electric. So excited to relive it all, and hopefully Baggage will hang a banner. Boing, boing. For now, we'll talk a little ball. It was as we recover from the trade deadline, it was comical looking at the standings to see how many win streaks or losing streaks there are. Texas Rangers, 6-game winner. These are the amount of teams with win streaks. Should I do 3? No, I'll do 4 games or more. So you're out, Toronto. Your 3-game win streak doesn't matter here. Baltimore, Texas, and Minnesota all have 4-game plus win streaks. Texas is 6. Those are your 3 division winners. So that's a pretty good way to come out of the trade deadline in the American League. Seattle, 5-game winner to be the first team out of the wild card. They are very much in this season. And your Washington Nationals, winners of 4 games straight. So, wow. They jump St. Louis to be the 3rd worst team in the National League. On the losing side, same game. Let's reverse engineer this with the National Liga. The 3 teams out of the NL wildcard right now are on 4+ losers. 2 of those are 6 games. The Reds and the Snakes are on 6-game losing streaks. The Fish are on a 4-game loser. The Angels and Boston Red Sox, 2 of the fringe deadline teams in the American League. 6-game loser for the Halos. 4-game loser for the Sox, kid. So those were our kind of heaters, colders heading off the break. The Mets have also lost 6 straight. They sold, and I don't want to say it's got to feel good, but you have to feel, what's the word? Not proven. I guess oddly satisfied.
Yeah.
You sold, you lost, that's the formula. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say, like, Angels fans have to be in a crazy dark place right now. Angel fans are going to look back in a couple years and say, we traded. If the prospects they traded for Randall Grichuk and C.J. Cron turn into something, I think that'll be heartbreaking.
Yep. Basically, just if one of those guys they traded for anybody becomes anything
Heartbreaking.
plus,
Heartbreaking. So, what I wanted,
depending on what the big guy does. But yes.
Sure. What I wanted to do was a little bit of a fun exercise. This is our 2nd year of the new playoff format, right? Because
2020 we got a weird format.
2020 alien season.
But we went back to normal for 21.
Dodger banner taking it down. It's a joke. Marlins won a playoff series. Anyways, I wanted to look back to last year. We only have one case study of these playoffs and the format and kind of what that looks like. So I thought there was some good compare and contrast. And my first fun fact for you is last year, August 7th, 2022, the best team in the American League was the 70-39 New York Yankees. They were still a half game up on the Astros before August fully kicked in. So let that be your first reminder to go to the DraftKings Sportsbook. Place a $5 bet to score $150 in bonus bets instantly with code BAKERS. That's right. That's for you. This bud's for you. That's a weird fake cross ad. Bakers. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in Massachusetts. Call 800-327-5050 or visit betlinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in West Virginia, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.1800gambler.net. All games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. I think I'm heading there. Yeah. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age is varied by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets. Woo! Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. One boost per eligible game. Opt-in required. Max bet $50. 10 plus leg required for a 100% boost. Eligibility, wagering, deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/baseball terms. Okay. So, let me go back into last year a little bit and try to tie it together into this year. Your top American League teams last year. The New York Yankees, amazing start. 1998 Yankees. No, the wheels still fell off. They won the division. Went to the CS, sure. Houston Astros, half game behind them at this point. Won the World Series. Great. Then there was a huge gap. Those top two teams were separated by a half game. Toronto was 9.5 back of the Yankees. They were your third best team in the American League. The hell was that? A little Kenosha, Wisconsin came out. Tampa was fourth at 58-50. So this is where it gets really sloppy. I mean, these records. Tampa was 58-50. Seattle 59-51. Minnesota 57-51. Baltimore 56-52. Cleveland 56-52. Chicago White Sox 55-53. Only semi-buffer team at the time was the Red Sox. They were 54-46. Everyone else was pretty far below 500. So, a reminder, the AL Central and the Centrals in general throw everything off, which we'll get to in this year's National League. The top 6 teams in the AL at this point last year made the playoffs, except Cleveland jumped Minnesota. So the Yankees, Astros, Blue Jays, Rays, Mariners, those top 5 all made the playoffs. Minnesota was the 6. Cleveland jumped them. So, Baltimore was having that fun season, but their pitching was nowhere near, or their hitting, if we're being honest, was nowhere near what it is now. They soft sold. They traded away Jorge Lopez at the deadline, if you remember that. So, yeah, those Central teams, I was shocked, by the way, to see the White Sox were 55-53. In contention for the Central. 2 games back at this point last year, the White Sox were of the Central. So, basically, if you take the Central out of it, the Orioles were kind of, they felt like they just didn't feel real at all last year. And they kind of weren't. They hung around for a little bit. The AL, for the most part, was sorted. So, think about that before we get to next year. The National League. Dodgers, Mets, 1-2. Head and shoulders above everyone else. The Atlanta Braves were 6.5 games back of the Mets. So, 6.5, kind of important to remember. Cardinals in Milwaukee were battling for the Central, but if you remember, Milwaukee traded away Josh Hader. People were worried about that. The top 6 teams in the National League last year made the playoffs. Number 7 was Milwaukee. And number 8 were the Giants, who ended up, they were 2 games below 500 at this point. So their ship had sailed. So we only have one case study of data. But from the previous 2 seasons, of the 12 playoff spots, 11 of them were accurate. And the only thing that was different was the AL mid. So let's jump into this year, shall we? Baltimore Orioles have the best record in the AL. They're 70-42, similar to where the Yankees and Houston were at last year. Great. Tampa, 3 games back. Texas, 4. Houston, 6.5. Toronto, and Seattle. So those are the Minnesota Twins are 7th right now. Again, the AL Central, throwing a little bit of a wrench in this. That, with where the wild card stands, Seattle is 2.5 games back. It seems like they're hitting their stride. They're also 3.5 back of Houston, which is in division. If you didn't know the history between Houston and Seattle, you would say anything is possible. The New York Yankees being 4.5 back in the way they are playing baseball, my goodness. Boston fans, Carabas posted on his Twitter, and think the social media world we live in can be an absolute hellscape. Everyone's social media can be a hellscape. Carabas tweeted out last night that the Red Sox season ended. They got swept by Toronto. They did nothing at the deadline. Verdugo got benched. They lost a game because of atrocious base running at the end of it. He posted on Twitter, it's dead. Now, if the Red Sox found a miracle, would he be able to find ways to poke at himself? Yes. But his social media would be a ruined hellscape. He very much thinks the Red Sox are done. If you'd heard me, Jimmy, BBD, Joe's, Dan Rourke, any Yankee fans talk, our best is the season is on pause. We said that last night. We would need to see something very different. Because otherwise that boat isn't too far off. And looking at last year, the Yankees, essentially their only option is to make the last wild card spot.
Without something crazy.
I think we're past that. It's
the only realistic possibility.
To catch Toronto or Seattle, I mean, I guess the dream world would be the second wild card spot. Because Houston is a game up on Toronto for that final spot. So if you didn't think about Houston how you normally think about Houston as they visit the White House today, because they are the world champions yet again. Okay, so in theory, those are in play. The Rays are in the last wild card spot. They have a plus 147 run differential. I'm going to start tying run differential in all this. That is still almost double the Orioles. I don't think run differential is everything, but I don't think Tampa's going to go away. I don't think Baltimore's going to go away. Their record's too good. Texas has the best run differential in baseball. Yep. Better than the Braves. 170. It's near impossible to think of them falling off. They've won 6 consecutive games. And someone will win the Central. It's really looking like the Twins because I think the Guardians are this year's Brewers. They traded away Savali. Brewers traded away Hader. I think that was the final punch. And slight credit to Minnesota. Their run differential is in an okay place. They're plus 47. Their pitching has been great all year. If they hit, they could be a real baseball team. Maybe they will. They did it against my Snakes this weekend. Okay. That's without mentioning the Angels, who are now 7 games back. Boston is 5. Yankees are a half game up on them, and I just said Carabas announced them dead, so, that half game, does it really matter? As the Yankees go to play the White Sox this weekend, speaking of dead. And then, everyone else is out of it. The National League, Atlanta's gone. Dodgers are gone. We'll come back to the Central. Phillies, San Francisco. Right now, the Cubs are the last wild card spot. Tied with Cincinnati. Miami's a half game back. Arizona is 1.5 back. San Diego is 3 games back, and that's it. Mets now have the same record as the Pittsburgh Pirates. Like, it's not even the realm of fantasy is over. The realm of miracles, the realm of Beatty Alvarez or whatever the Mets have getting hot. 11 games under 500. It's over. And that's okay because they did sell and they got some assets back, and maybe baseball can change quick. Ask the Cardinals for all the wrong reasons. Ask the Orioles for all the right reasons. Baseball can change fast. Why I wanted to get to run differential. In the American League, and I said this today, I think we're in tune for something fun. I think this wild card race with expanded playoffs, the American League has 10 teams, and I did a little bit of this on Wake and Jake. 10 of 15s have a positive run differential. Yankees skin of their teeth +4. One bad night at the office, and that could be gone. Cleveland -4. So those are your influx teams.
A couple of interesting ways you can butter knife the Yankees when you're that close. They have a very good number against the A's, very bad number against the Red Sox. So
right. So with that, I think the American League wild card is going to end up very interesting. Seattle is fast charging. They have an easy schedule. Toronto can have as much juice as any team in baseball, like at their best. One of those 2 teams will be left out of the playoffs, or the Houston Astros, which, again, none of you believe in. That I think this AL wild card is going to end up in an awesome spot. It will be interesting to see if Texas or Baltimore can get reeled in. Statistically, run differential-wise, you'd lean Baltimore. Texas just had an injury to Josh Young. Houston is coming. That could very much have Mets-Braves feels from last year. I won't believe it till I see it at this point. Where I'm kind of going, after 1 year data sample, for the Yankees to get involved in this, something ridiculous would have to happen. Something crazy. They would have to start playing a really good brand of baseball, which they have not done all year.
haven't broken off a long win streak. I think longest of the year. I think they had a 5 in May, but
What's their best month?
May.
And that landed at 15? 19-10. Judge was back. Bader was back.
It was over 650 win percentage, which qualifies as our one good month.
It's a great month. They've been 500 or below in every other month. It's not looking good, and I think we all knew that. That's not the big update for you. In the National League, and this is where I think it gets fun for the wrong reasons. I think every team that makes the American League playoffs this year will be a good, entertaining playoff baseball team. The National League is in a funky situation because going back to that run differential, there are 6 teams in the National League with a positive run differential. There will be 6 playoff teams this year. Currently, one of the teams that is in the playoffs that has a negative run differential is your Milwaukee Brewers. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They did add a couple strategic pieces at the deadline. They host Cole Tucker and the Colorado Rockies, so maybe that'll be a dose of the right medicine. But right now, the Brewers are the team that's not smelling right. They play a lot of kids. They win with pitch. They win close. They lose big. It's not the best formula in baseball. Phillies. I think everyone believes in the Phillies, what they did last year, and just looking at the high-end talent on that team. They are both, them and the San Francisco Giants are in the wild card by 3 games. Giants somewhat have a history of organizational success and believing what they're doing. They are surviving and currently staying out of the crap. If they get involved, if the Giants have a bad streak, no one would be really shocked because you do the same thing you talk about the Giants. You're like, where are the stars? Their pitching's a little banged up. They're playing some kids here and there. We'll see if the Giants get caught up back in the slog. Here come your Chicago Cubs. Plus 75 run differential. That is third best in the National League. They're in the last wild card spot. I currently have them favorites for the Central now. They are about to start a series with the New York Mets. Could see their hot streak continuing. So now your team's out of the wild card, like I just said. And if I told you these teams were out of the NL wild card before the season, you wouldn't have flinched. Reds, Marlins, Snakes. Cincinnati, same record as Chicago. Teams heading different directions right now. Miami with an L4. They added at the deadline sneaky a lot. Sneaky couple bullpen pieces. Josh Bell. They had another bat in the middle of the lineup. Whom I'm blanking on?
Jake Berger.
Jake Berger. Why don't you eat up and I'll tell you. L4 for them feels tough. They play Cincinnati. Whoa. That is going to be an ugly series. My Snakes are a game above 500. We are getting into a dangerous territory. Their next series is against the Dodgers and then the Padres. And the Padres are the team I want to focus on. Because baseball, we're all guessing a little bit. Seasons can go different directions with different injuries, with different, I saw a tweet or people talking around the office today. If, Rodon and Rizzo were healthy all year, this Yankees team would be good. Yeah, if the Yankees had one of the better first basemen for 2 months instead of the worst, and they had one of the best starting pitchers in baseball for 4 months instead of a bad starting pitcher for a month, yes.
I bet there's no other teams that would say if they had all their guys all year.
Correct. But there's one thing currently, and baseball's a long season, and I alluded to this with the Cubbies, and there's a little part of me that can't believe I'm going to let this team hook me in, but I'm in on the Padres. It's the only team in baseball remaining that truly has a feel of one of these things is not like the other. Their run differential is plus 69. Nice. Fourth best in the National League. A Cubs loss and a Padres win, and the Padres would have the third best run differential in the NL. They're 6-4 in their last 10. The teams ahead of them in the wild card. Arizona, 2-8 in their last 10, L6. Miami, 3-7, L4. Cincinnati, 3-7, L6. So if you're hoping for chaos, or if we're trying to use these statistics to accurately depict where we're going to go, the only true outlier team at this point is the San Diego Padres. And they've had some changes, right? Like Gary Sanchez has been a shot of life for that team. They were getting the worst catcher production in baseball. Since Gary has joined the team, he has the most home runs from the catcher position. Jake Cronenworth has started to perform. They added G-Man and Garrett Cooper to try to get some sort of a platoon going down there. Soto's been one of the best players in baseball, as has Ha-Sung Kim. Machado has bounced back on the year. They need him to go. Same with Bogarts a little bit. And that Tatis guy there is too. Their pitching right now is going to have to survive. It lists a 4-man rotation of Darvish, Snell, Hill, and Lugo. I do see one off day coming up. But yeah, Musgrove's not throwing for a bit. Waka's out. That they're going to have to piece some things together. I think the other reason that I'm excited for Padres baseball is if that team gets in the playoffs, man, I mean, just that formula of anything can happen in baseball, whether it's the Phillies last year, whether it's whatever blank team you want to reference, the Padres have the talent. The Padres have the talent. Darvish, Snell. We'll see if Musgrove can get back for potential playoffs. Hader, Suarez. Steven Wilson has been pretty good for them out of their bullpen. And a couple other guys that you've seen. Nick Martinez, they added Barlow at the deadline. And all the names I mentioned in that lineup. We will see. They've got a big series with Arizona. The Arizona will be doing everything they can to keep them in their rear view. I will also be in the building. So let's see what effect I can have on that. Go Snakes, go. With all the research I have, a.k.a. 1 year, last year to this year, 11 out of 12 teams made it. From this time in the standings to last year's playoffs, the only outlier was winning the AL Central. This year, I do think there's a little more up in the air just because the NL Central can end up being a disaster between Milwaukee, Cincinnati, and Chicago. That can go any which way. And right now, the Padres, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have the 10th best record in the American League. But ahead of them, to get into that playoffs, you need to be top 6, right? Ahead of them are 3 Central teams that I don't know if they know what they're doing. An Arizona team that they could catch by this weekend. And a Miami team that unfortunately no one's ever really believed in because their offense has never clicked. And part of the reason they're alive is they won all those one-run games to start the season. So the wall in front of the Padres seems very fake facade-like. That I think that would be outside of everything else. That's kind of the only playoff change that really seems to be in play. So we've got under 2 months of baseball. When do playoffs start this year? MLB playoffs 2022. I don't want that. Playoffs 2023. Oh, we've got a Fox playoff bracket. I don't care about this, Fox.
Regular season ends October 1.
Okay. So yeah. I mean,
3rd.
8 weeks. Games. 8 weeks of baseball, which feels like a lot, and hopefully would love if the baseball gods rear their ugly heads in ways we don't know, but if you're not one of the teams sitting pretty, uh-oh. So I don't know. I guess that was a little Yankee fandom trying to convince ourselves that to just pull the plug on the season and stop dreaming. Maybe a little hope for Padre fans. What's been a weird season for them. And I don't know. Central divisions, let's be better on the whole. And maybe the Cubs are. The Cubs have been absolutely electric. I'm glad I double took on my their deadline can look bad because I put together the math that I don't believe in the other teams and their numbers, their run differential. They were the other outlier, and then it clicked. But I don't know. I think at the end of August, we could be talking about the Padres, baseball gods clicking, and they're the team that disrupts the current playoff picture. Otherwise, figure out your Central, and I think then it's just going to be jockeying for positioning, which could get very interesting with the 2 buys and then home field advantage in those 3-game playoff series that are delicious and horrifying at the same time. So that's more or less all I've got on the baseball world as we're watching the final 8 weeks of the season or so. Whew. The only other sports thing that I did think was interesting was the U.S. women's soccer team losing. There was the one. Who was the former women's player that was ripping the team and was like, they suck? Was it Julie Foudy? Was it women's analyst rips U.S. soccer? I don't think it was Julie Foudy. Carly Lloyd. Carly Lloyd ripped the team after they advanced and was like, they look flat, they look bad, they look terrible. The U.S. women's team like chirped back and was like, shut up, we advanced. Like, get off our back. You forget what it's like being a player. I don't know. And then they lost. And it's the earliest loss in U.S. women's soccer history. It was kind of like, damn. I don't know. Everyone kind of came at Carly Lloyd, and she ended up being right. So maybe she's my bro of the night. A little throwback. Also, if you didn't watch the end of that game, go check it out. The way they lost was crazy. They missed a kick to win it, just off net. And then in the following round, the keeper made the save, but it bounced in the air, and it just crossed the line. Oh. Yeah, it was like as crushing as it could possibly get. Unreal. Kind of the beauty of sports. And kind of the beauty of the floorball tournament you guys will see about 2 months from now. Baseball season will end, wild card weekend, and then I think those games come out. So I think a little high and tight for Wake and Jake today. The whole company's moving a little slow after a warehouse weekend. I did finally text Jolly Olive, and I said, let's do it. And he said, okay. So I think we're going to get you some sort of tier list for the rest of the season. Maybe I'll tie it into what we just did. Or I won't. That's the game of life.
One team will be mid.
One team will be mid. Thank you very much. How about that White Sox Jose Ramirez fight? You guys see that? You heard everyone else talk about it.
Including us.
Including us. Talking baseball. Baseball today. Dan Canobio. Old. Thank you guys. We'll see you Wednesday.